Today we are hanging out with my friend Kris Phelps from fearless.com. We'll talk about entrepreneurship, how Kris was able to build a business as a side hustle to the point where he was the business was so profitable that he was able to quit his job and dedicate himself to work on his own business with his lovely wife Laura at the same time as they were growing a family. We'll talk about this and much more in just a second. Hey, what's going on, bosses? Adrian Diaz here with Hasta la Vista Boss, the place where ambitious people like you and I, we talk about how to create a business of our own, how to make it profitable, quit our jobs, and become our own bosses. I hope that sounds like a good plan. And as I was saying, today I have Kris with me. Kris, welcome to Hasta la Vista Boss.
Thanks, Adrian. Happy to be here.
How's it going, buddy? All good?
So far, yeah, getting lots of good news going on lately, so I'm pretty happy.
That's good stuff, man. What's the latest with the coronavirus on your side of the world?
I live in probably one of the craziest states in the United States. So I'm in Florida, and it's opening. Everything's opening up for the most part. I mean, I see restaurants are slammed, and
Wow.
yeah, it's interesting. We're playing it safe. We got some medical things happening in our family, so because we've got we got to watch out for each other. We're still keeping pretty low, but a lot of other people aren't.
Sure, good stuff, buddy. I mean, I kind of envy you because here we're still in lockdown, so there's nothing open, just the essential stuff here in the UK.
I'm
But
curious. Were liquor stores considered essential over there?
well, for some people, depend who you asking. um, where people can find you, Kris, before I move on, because I always want to have this thing at the beginning, this question, like where people can find more about you, in case I forget to ask you.
Yeah. So if you go to Fearless, that's fearlss.com. It takes you to our website. You can join our email list there if you wanted to. We aren't actively sending out emails right now, but as we get like interesting things, we'll start to send out some emails to people. If you want to follow along in our podcast, which we're going to talk about, you just go to fearless.fm. That's fearlss.fm. And then, from there, if you can also go to krisphelps.com. That's krisphelps.com. And that has all my social profiles for anyone who just wants to link up with me directly.
Sweet. I'll drop links when we finish this hangout. I'll drop the links in the description for you guys to check it out if you want. Before we move on, I want to welcome everybody or whoever is in the chat. And by the look of it, Marcus is here. I believe Marcus. I'm not. Maybe Marcus is from Five Figure Need Site course. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, cool.
But
I'm a student of that.
yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So welcome everybody. If you have questions, if you have anything to add, just put a comment in there, and I'll ask Kris if he can answer it. As well, you can join us here on live on the live stream on Zoom. Since it's not many people here live, I will drop the link to the Zoom meeting in the chat in just a second. So you can join us here and you can make a question live to Kris if you want. Kris, let me come back to you, buddy. And if people don't know you, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Well, like what you do and what's your gig online?
Sure. Yeah. So Kris Phelps. I've been in the online business world probably it's between 10 and 12 years. I've been designing and building websites probably since I was 13 or 14.
Wow.
Yeah, I got started really early, but it's the last 10 or 12 years I've really been doing online business. I guess at the core of it, a lot of people would consider me kind of an SEO. That's a lot of what we've done. But I'm kind of in our business, the research and development, the idea guy that I figure out what works, and then I build a system and I hand it off to people, and then I start working on the next thing. And but our core business right now is display advertising revenue. So I don't know if you know John Dykstra, but
Mm-hmm.
from Fat Stacks blog. but a lot of what he does, that's kind of our area too. Just we're not to the same scale he is.
Well, you definitely on your way to get there, though.
Yeah, we're trying.
So I want to welcome Laura as well on the chat. Hi, Laura. Thank you for being here.
Oh, good. She got on.
Yay! So another question that I always like to ask is, are you still working for someone else, or are you already your own boss?
I am my own boss now. So I used to work for one of the world's largest banks. If you follow our podcast, I worked for a big bank.
Ooh.
And March 15th, 2019 was my last day there. My wife actually has video she took of me walking through the door. I didn't even
That's
know
awesome.
she was doing it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just walking through the door, finishing my last day. It was awesome. It's great.
That's so great, man. I keep having this vision in my mind. Like when my last day will be, I have one of my colleagues to, come with a camera and catch me saying this to the boss. Hasta la vista, boss.
That's great. I had my own daydream, but my boss was too cool to pull off the daydream that I had, which was I wanted to blare the song "All I Do Is Win" as I was walking out the door. I don't know if you've seen that movie Office Space, but kind of like the dang it feels good to be a gangster. I wanted to do something like that.
Yeah,
but the people that I worked with were too cool, and they were so nice that it felt kind of arrogant, so I wasn't going to do it.
I have the same. I'm in the same situation right now. I'm working with a great team, good people. If I do it, I'll just tell them, hey, let's make something fun for my YouTube channel, But I won't be.
That's a good way to do
it. Yeah. I mean, I won't be able to come in there and being like a dickhead and hey, you're an idiot and hasta la vista.
Yeah.
Kris, I'm always curious. Since you already know, because you're in the Hasta la Vista Facebook group, my journey as well and what I do. And I'm always curious for myself and for people who are watching this live stream or maybe the catch replay, they are interested in, making something for themselves, like start a business or side hustle or anything. I'm curious to know, how did you start it? Like how this came about of you starting a side hustle?
So a long time ago, 2008 was about the financial crisis. It was just a huge housing crisis. You had banks falling left and right. Everyone knows about it. And I was working in a bank, like one of the biggest banks. Like we were in the headlines constantly, and not in a bad way, but I was just seeing how vulnerable people were. And, I was in my early 20s, just gotten married, and I'm like sitting here going like, man, if I lost my job right now, like I'd be in big trouble. So I started kind of really digging into finance and learning about like different concepts like multiple income streams, passive income and stuff like that. And I stumbled upon a quote that has kind of always stuck with me. It said that employees are always one day away from being impoverished.
No way. I mean, this, sorry to interrupt you. It's like this image, my missus sent that image to me like literally a couple of days ago when because I'm in the situation where I've lost my job because of the coronavirus, and then I'm just basically with no money because I have no other source of income. Just this little website I have with Amazon, it makes me a few $100 per month. But if I didn't have that, I mean that what you said is so true. Sorry to interrupt you. I had to jump in there. All good.
It is, and so I started kind of down this journey of like, all right, passive income, and it's like, all right, well, I can do like dividend investing. So if I can get like $1.4 million, then I can like live off of dividend income. The problem was I needed $1.4 million.
Woo.
And so I started like kind of just digging in further, like what are some other ways that I can make like this passive income that I'm reading about. And I stumbled upon just these people that were talking about, hey, like websites. And I know websites, like I've been building them like since I was a baby. So I was like, all right, let's see how this works. And they were talking about creating, some of them was like Spencer Hawes, a lot of the
Yeah.
big gurus now that are
Yeah.
just like where we're at right now, just trying to build our platform. And so they're talking about like making $10,000 a month, and like that sounds like fake money.
Uh-huh.
When you're an employee making like 20, 30, 40 grand a year, like $10,000 a month sounds fake.
It
And
does.
obviously it's not. There's tons of people making six figures,
Loads.
and there's, yeah. So it's not fake. But it sounds fake. It sounds like a scam. Like I'm sitting here going, am I watching like a late night infomercial right now? Like, am I about to like, take out a second mortgage on my home to go off and, chase some get rich quick scheme? So obviously I didn't. I tested it, and I didn't put a ton of money into it. And that's the key. I think a lot of people get hung up now. Like you got Spencer doing his really cool, niche site projects where everything's outsourced, and he's spending $17,000 to get like a website built and content published and all this amazing stuff. And then it just like discourages people that are where I was, 10 or 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, don't forget you can do the work yourself. And our business is built off of a $150 investment of our own money.
Right.
And
Right.
now it funds our entire lifestyle. Our house is paid off. Our cars are paid off. Like,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Awesome
it's all from
stuff. Yeah. I mean,
$150.
yeah, that and I know exactly what you mean. I've seen from Authority Hackers as well. I think they put like a case study last year, I believe it was, when they built a site and then they sold it for six figures later that year. But of course, many times you will, when you're gonna watch people saying, "Hey, I'm gonna teach you how to make money online," you just need to. I mean, you don't need to have any knowledge, you don't need to have any money, you don't need to have this, and that's bullshit. Because as you can see, these guys, Spencer and the 30 Hacker, they say they spend like thousands of dollars into a project to make like Spencer now, I believe, is making $3,000 from out of his website from the latest new site project, and he put a lot of money and he has a huge team behind him, you know. But like you were saying, you can do it, like we can do it. Like I'm here, I'm still in the trenches, and I'm looking up to you guys, like you, Marty, my friend, and other people that that are out of the rat race, but I'm still here in the trenches. So I need to use my money, I need to use my resources, my time, my everything. So be honest with yourself if you try to get into starting a side hustle, because you'll probably have to do most of it, most of the work.
That's it. My wife and I personally have written thousands of articles ourselves. We're not above the work. Now we've got a team of 5 people like that, and it's wonderful. It's nice to get away from a lot of that stuff. But you got to, if you're above doing the work, if you can't write the articles or create the video content, then this is not the business to be in. Because unless you're willing to blow thousands of dollars on a hunch, I mean, I've had tons of sites fail. So do you want to invest your nest egg into a site that's like might make it? No, don't do that.
Sure thing. What motivated you, like what inspired you to start this thing?
It was definitely the financial crisis and realizing just how vulnerable people that were twice my age were. I mean, seeing people that were like, 40, 50, 60 years old that are all sitting there wondering, like worried about money. And it's like, man, they've worked their entire lives in these cubicles. And like, I've said this before, I was never meant to be in a cubicle. Just my personality, I am not a person that can hang out in a cubicle for the rest of my life. And so it's one of those things that I think seeing people that were, twice my age, 3 times my age, and they all looked, a lot of them looked miserable. I somehow was lucky enough to end up in a lot of teams of people that were pretty happy, and that helped keep my morale up for the 10 or 12 years I was there. But I could just see some of these other people throughout the whole company that just looked miserable. I'm like, I'm gonna work like 40 years of my life to like, why would I be the exception? Why would I break the rule of getting to 65 years old, spending 45 years in a cubicle, and somehow end up happy or happier than them? I wanted to be here with my family.
short thing. I think it's each one of us has different. The reason I'm asking this question at the beginning is because I always like it's kind of helped me to motivate myself as well. Knowing other people's stories, but as well it's because uh, we have different approaches. We have different perspectives, different stories. In my case, I just want to uh, have more time. I mean, I don't have time now that I'm at home. I have a little bit more life, if you want, but because we are inside of the in our homes, we can't leave the home. We can't do anything, which is it's kind of a trap. But
Yeah,
it's really interesting for me to know other people perspectives. So thanks for sharing that, Chris.
sure.
Um, Let me ask you this: why entrepreneurship? What's wrong with having a job?
I don't think my answer to this will depend on the person that I'm talking to, right? Like, and I think I said this to one of our recent episodes on the podcast, but like, if you can't motivate yourself to work, if you need to be told you need to be somewhere at this time, this is what you need to do, and then you get to leave at this time, then jobs are amazing. Jobs I do not disparage jobs at all.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain types of people that like they want to just clock in, be told what to do, clock out, and then enjoy the rest of their day, enjoy the weekend, and that's fine. If that's you, go for it. That's not me. I want to do like what I love about this business is that I feel like an income hunter gatherer, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to figure out like cool ways to make money and do interesting projects, and I get to pick what I care about. And if you can't motivate yourself to do that, then an online business would be a disaster for you.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Um, but one thing I keep saying to people is don't quit your job, man. Because I mean, don't quit your job before you actually have money replacing that job. Um, and I'm one of those lucky guys that like what I do. I'm
Yeah.
not grumpy when I go to work. I don't hate my job. I don't on this particular job. I don't hate my boss. I had other places where I hated the guy with the passion.
Yeah.
But but for sure we have to you have to be smart when you go into building a side hustle. I've heard people like they left USA, go to Chiang Mai with just this idea of making money online. Bro, you need to have something first. Don't quit your job.
Yeah.
um,
If you're single and you're willing to take the risk, then maybe. But like, if there are people trusting you to be making good decisions, like you got a wife, you got kids, or you got a husband, and this is your thing. Like, if you have people trusting you, like, don't go and start being like making weird decisions like
yeah,
that they didn't sign up for.
yeah,
Exactly. And like, it's totally unsexy advice. I get it. People love that romantic story of like, I walked away from my job and I just did it. But like, you only hear a very small percentage of those, and those are the ones that succeeded. There's a much larger percentage of people that didn't succeed doing that. I'm not trying to like deflate people's dreams here.
sure.
I definitely agree with you. When I went into this and we started like seeing like real money coming in, we were like, all right, if we only hit X number of dollars, I can leave my job. And then we got to that point, and then I'm like, it's kind of nice making all this extra money. And so I didn't leave. And it was like another 5 or 7 years later that I finally was like, all right, I'll do this. I'll get out. But if you got people depending on you, don't
True.
don't just up and quit your job. Especially without their input.
So yeah, it's 100% true. 100, I mean, now I keep saying this. If I knew 10 years ago what I know now, when I have when back then I didn't have a wife, I didn't have kids, I didn't have so many responsibilities. Um, it would have been a different story. But but it still sucks.
No
Thanks
worries.
for carrying the show for me.
I tried. It probably wasn't the best transition, but I did what I could.
Oh man. So I can't remember what we were talking about, but I'll probably jump to if. Have you finished the point though?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go. So, because I can't remember what what I asked, but let me ask you some, for example, some myths about online marketing or building a business, an online business in general. Because you know, when you talk to people, when they ask you what do you do or what kind of business you building, and then you say online or internet marketing, they say and I don't know I don't know what they goes through their mind.
It's a big business. There's a
Yeah.
lot to it.
Yeah. So,
So
what myths have you heard about since you've been doing this for so many years now? What kind of known myths about building online businesses you heard?
so the it's funny because we actually did an episode about myths, but probably one of the top myths that we've seen is, firstly, is like a lot of people are like, it's a scam, you can't do it, and which I think we've all established that's not true. There are
Sure.
scams inside of this, but it's a legitimate business. The I guess probably the next big myth that I've seen with people regarding online business is that it's easy, and it is not easy. In fact,
At
it's
all.
only gotten harder. I envy 10 years ago. Like, I wish the internet was like it was 10 years ago because it was significantly easier, right? And I mean, we've been able to insulate our business, but it's constantly changing. I mean, even just this past month, we had Amazon go and cut their referral rates by like 50% in many cases. That's a big paycheck cut. I think it might have been Doug Cunnington had someone that ended up losing like $176,000 a year from
Yeah.
that change.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it was
it's
Matt. I can't remember Matt something like that. Sorry, I'm not gonna butcher your name, brother. I'm just gonna leave it there on Matt. Just go to Doug Cunnington YouTube channel. There's the video is there. But yeah, so I've heard about those myths as well. You know, it's easy because that's how people who are trying to sell you some product online, they will come to
Yep.
you. Hey, bro, you want to know the 5 secrets to build an online business for free? No money, no knowledge, nothing to invest. You know,
Yeah.
so I've heard that myth so many times, and that's probably why people. When you tell them, "Hey, I'm trying to build an online business," they start to think, "What the hell is he up to?"
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it also, I think, discourages people too, because when people start out doing this business, they're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I put up a website, why isn't like a bunch of money rolling in? And like, no, you're not doing anything wrong. You actually have to work to do this. Another one of the myths that we kind of have encountered is like, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is that it costs a lot of money. And that was like when Spencer was kind of revealing his backyard website. I forget what it was off the top of my head, but all of the comments were like, "Must be nice to have $17,000 to invest," you know. And his response was like, "Guys, I built the websites, you know, back in the day. Like, he put in the work a long time ago, and that's the same thing with us. Like, we put in the work a long time. Like, we were the ones up late, right? You know, writing.
Exactly.
I was skipping video game time
Yeah.
to write articles, you know. And so it's very interesting now to see kind of how people are towards like these people that have gotten successful, because it's not luck. You know, you're not lucky if you've succeeded in online business. It's because you did the work. Like, sure, there's probably some like elements of like probability and whatnot that you can call luck, like picking the right niche out of the gate, you know, that would be lucky. But that doesn't mean that you didn't earn it.
Yeah, it's you know, there's one thing I like to say when guys at work mention this kind of stuff, that oh no, that Bill Gates or that guy is lucky or something. I say, hey, I think I'm kind of lucky as well, but I feel like the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? So you know, if when I start to make like $10,000, $20,000 per month, just look back at these videos that I'm doing with these guys and talking about this stuff, because I'm still in the trenches. So don't think that you know, that's one of the reason the thumbnail of this video is called it takes about 10 years to have an overnight success, because Chris and his missus Laura, um, they've done this for over a decade in order to get to this point. I mean, you can get there faster. Like our friend Marty McLeod, he did that in about 3 or 4 years. You can do it faster, but each one of us has different circumstances, different. Like Marty, for example, he doesn't have kids. But the important thing is to take action, and remember this: the harder you work, the luckier you get.
That's it. Yeah, and for anyone watching, because I'm sure there's someone with kids. Like I've got 5 sons. like yeah, like
That's a blessed man.
Yeah, we are very busy. And you find the time.
Man.
You figure it out. You and I'm not trying to, like, sleep's important. I'm not going to be on the appeal. It's like, stop. You get 2 hours of sleep a night. 3 hours. I wish I had 3 hours of sleep. Like, no. Get sleep, but cut into the sleep a little bit, get to work, or, that's what I would do is my lunch breaks, I'd work on the business. Before work, I'd work on the business. When I got home, I'd work on the business, my life. And some people won't like that. Some people won't want to do that. And that's fine. If you don't want to take all of your free time or even a large portion of your free time to do this, that's fine. But this business isn't going to happen. Like, someone's not going to come in and do it for you,
Sure.
And I see Brandon says, I thought I had it tough with 2 boys.
Yeah. By the way, guys, if anybody wants to jump on the call and if you have a question for Kris or just a feedback or something, Brandon, you can unmute yourself, brother, if you want to say something. And here in the chat as well, I just want to welcome Bob. Who's else in here? 118943. I don't know who I know that you said you're the anonymous boss, but it would be nice at least to know your name. I'll have a look at that question in just a little bit. And yeah, Brandon seems to be, and I thought it's tough with just one girl, but you, Brandon, 2 boys, Kris, 5 boys. I mean, boy, that's a lot of work.
It is, but and now, like, we get to enjoy the fruits of all of that work. It was like 10 or 12 years of like, man, is this ever going to happen? And then finally it happens, and it feels surreal.
I'm so happy for you, man, and for Laura, for the kids, for everything. I mean, that's the dream for every. I wouldn't say everybody, because like you were saying at the beginning, some people, they just like to be told what to do. They like to just have a routine. Wake up, go to work, do whatever I'm supposed to do, get my money, go back to the pub, have a couple of pints, watch some football. That's, some people are happy to do that, and that's fine. But yeah, excuse me. Kris, tell me about the sites that you've built that made you guys money. Like, what type of sites they are? I think you touched a little bit of this. Are they affiliate sites? Are they just content websites, like type of John Dystrat type of websites, and how do you monetize them?
Yeah, so they're mostly content sites. We started pivoting them because I saw all this traffic coming in, and I was like, man, we're really wasting it just on these display ads. So we pivoted some of them to have more affiliate content on them, mostly Amazon affiliate. But overall, they're still just mostly content sites. They were originally monetized with Google AdSense alone, and then John Dykstra turned me on to Azoic, and so we now do almost all of the advertising through Azoic. We've looked into some of the other services like AdThrive or something like that. There's a bunch of them, but Azoic has been awesome to us. I work with my account manager every quarter. And sometimes she'll just like pop in and be like, hey, I noticed that your content's gotten longer. So she's like, we need to add some more ad placements in here. And they're great. And I would encourage anyone who does do display ads, if you're not with Azoic, or, give them a look. You do have to be approved. Like, they have their traffic requirements, but easily Azoic doubled my ad revenue.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, now that, as you were saying earlier, Amazon cut the fees for the affiliate program, or some of the categories anyway. Now, I at the moment, I can't work on my website because I don't have the budget. I don't have that salary to pay my writers, to pay the VAs and all that. But one of the things that I will do when I come back to when I go back to work and have some more money, I'll definitely go look for ads and other affiliate programs. And it's nice to see that you had like double money, double bubble,
Yeah.
just by putting the ads on the site. That's awesome. I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah. And one of the things that I would suggest, so like for the situation you're in, you don't have the ability to necessarily be getting new content out there.
Mm-hmm.
Invest your time in like building out your existing content, finding like secondary keywords that you can add in to kind of build the articles out further. And then also, this is one area that we've tried to work on, to be better at. There's a lot of money left on the table not promoting your old content. So like,
Mm-hmm.
if your old content is as evergreen, meaning it's basically good indefinitely, start scheduling like messages to go out to social media to like start promoting that content. One thing that we did on one of our sites was we built out an email list, and it was like the coolest thing. Everyone's heard like the email or the money's in the list, right? You've probably heard that the
Yeah,
money's in the
yeah.
list. And email marketing is probably one area that I have struggled with the most. It didn't really ever make sense to me. Like, I'm going to spend like thousands of dollars on email, marketing applications to send out emails and whatnot to people. And so I didn't really take it seriously or embrace it. And one of the things that I found that has worked out really well is like, you can promote your old content to your email list. You don't have to be like, hey, check out this old article, but like update an article and then send it out to your email list and say, hey, we updated, added some really cool information to this that we think you might be interested in. And I mean, with one of our websites, I was doing that, and each email that I was sending out to the list was making us like, I don't know, $7 to $10, which I know doesn't sound like a lot of money, but across enough emails, like that money will really add up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just from promoting, like you've already done this work. And I think a lot, like we got hooked on the free Google traffic, but there's so much money left on the table from the traffic that you can generate from your own efforts. And it's more tedious, it's more work, but it's money, you know?
It's definitely like stacking income streams if you want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good advice there. Thanks, Chris. I'll definitely look into it. At the moment, I just decided to go for making shitloads of videos
There you go. Yeah.
For the YouTube channel. I mean, I think my time, because I hate writing. I definitely hate writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think my energy is spent better somewhere else.
Sure.
So I don't know if you know, but if you guys don't know, I'm doing a case study um, about about a website I want to build called Telling on the Planet. There's some videos there in the YouTube channel, but at the moment, I think it's it's a great opportunity for me to make videos, because otherwise, when I go back to work, this ends. This has to stop. Unfortunately. Well, I mean, I don't want to stop it, but it's going to be very, very difficult for me to make videos in the future, because of my work and commuting for so many hours. Sometimes it's just 3 hours a day only commuting.
Yeah,
It's
that's crazy.
ridiculous, stupid. Do you guys have your own digital product? I think you've touched a little bit that you want to go into this. Some people recommended me, Adrian, why don't you create a course of your own? And I think that is going to be something that's going to happen in the future. At the moment, I don't believe that just because I made $500 online and I know how to make websites and rank them, I don't think I'm worthy enough for me to kind of coach other people, because that I would become, in my view, in my eyes, I would become a fake guru, right? I will just making money from the course instead of what I preach, right?
So I respect that about you. Now, what I would say is that doesn't disqualify you from making a course, though. And what you can do is leverage other people's expertise. You don't have to be the person giving out the information. You just can, you can do interviews and assemble the information and create
Mm-hmm.
a product out of that. You don't have to sit there and like rent a Lamborghini, pose in front of it on your Instagram and like, go buy my course for $497.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't disqualify you. But as far as your question about digital products, yeah, we do. Years and years and years ago, one of our websites, I had so much traffic coming into it, but it was only making like a little bit of money from the ad revenue. It was good money. It was just for the amount of traffic we were getting. I was like, I can't believe we're only making that much. So, I had this idea like, all right, there were no like or anything serving this market. And so I didn't have anything that I could look at and go, that'll probably work. So we hired someone to make an ebook for us for our exact niche. And we just put it up for sale for like $20. And people started buying it. Like, it wasn't like selling hand over fist, but like, I don't know. I think at our best, we were maybe pulling down about a few hundred a month probably from the ebook. And it was amazing because we had this market of people, right? It was a whole bunch of people gathered in on our website. And I'm like, wow, like we can just like pitch a product. And there's this guy, he was one of the original founders of Lead Pages. His name escapes me at the moment.
Lead pages. I don't
Clay
know.
Collins. And way back before he ended up super successful and like leaving everything, he had this video that I was watching. He had just released this thing called Lead Player, and it was like the first of its kind. But you could have like a YouTube video embedded on your page, and in the middle of the video, you could pause it and then say, if you want to continue watching this video, just enter your email address here.
I've seen that as well. I can't remember when, but I've seen that.
Yeah, there's tons of them now, but I think he might have been the original one. And there was other things you could do. You can make people tweet the video before they, but it was brilliant because you could go and grab someone else's video, and then you could do like a lead gate on it if you wanted to. There's just so many things you could do with it. But one of the things that he said that blew my mind, and it's always stuck with me. I mean, this is probably one of the first things that I learned in internet marketing that's really stuck with me. He said, if I could force the entire planet to make a decision about my product, I would be a multi-billionaire. And so many people don't make any money online because they don't
ask.
They don't ask. And so I saw this giant pool of traffic and I'm like, I'm going to make them an offer and some of them might buy. And so we made this ebook and it started selling. And we weren't super like happy with the ebook. Like it was kind of like MVP, minimum viable product. Like it was good enough, but we weren't super happy with it. But we weren't getting like refund requests. I think even to date, this book has sold for 8 or 9 years. And I think we've maybe had like 5 or 10 refund requests ever. So I'm getting to a point though, we were selling a fair number of copies of this book. And then the biggest complaint or the biggest issue that I had with it is like our demographic was older people. And so they weren't like super familiar. I mean, we made we should have used neon signs. Like we were just short of using neon signs saying, this is a digital product. You will not be shipped a book. And so a common issue that we would have is people saying, it's been 3 weeks and my book's still not here. And we're like, check your email. And so it was like delivery issues, like having to guide people through accessing a PDF from their email. That was our biggest issue. And it didn't take a lot of time, but it took enough of my time that I'm like, I want to make this as hands-free as possible. So we moved the book over to Amazon Kindle, and the sales have plummeted for the most part. Like it does okay still. Like it still sells a few copies every month, but it's nowhere near the amount of money it was making when it was on our website. And yeah, I could put it back on the website and then have like an assistant work with it. But right now I'm so busy with other money-making endeavors that I'm not going to do that. But it is completely hands-off money, selling it on Amazon. So we've left it there, and it's nice because I don't ever have angry people like, why isn't this book here? Like everyone knows that you're buying a Kindle book and they know where it's going and so forth. So, but that shows the power. Our website, our puny little website, made a lot more money from that digital product when it was on our website than when it was on the Leviathan over here, Amazon. And so that's a lesson for people to consider is just, these little websites that you're making, these niche sites have a lot of marketing potential versus, trying to duke it out on Amazon.
Right, right. Actually, I was getting into. I I still want to do it. Merch by Amazon. Um, so I was thinking, should I put this merchandise on a website that I own, or maybe should I use Amazon? I mean, Amazon takes a lot of money, but then the cost of doing that T-shirt and sending the T-shirt and everything. Um, I don't want to have to deal with all that stuff. Uh, but I see how you could make money, much more money, if you put the product on your site, because you take everything, right? You don't let Amazon to take anything out of your out of your pocket.
Yeah, if you have the traffic on your site, it's worth testing out. But that was one of the problems that we had with our greeting card business was the shipping. It
Hmm.
was like super tedious. Let me blow your mind for a second. I don't know if you know about this or not. There are things called fulfillment companies now,
Right.
and they will, you can. There's one called Shippo, and there's a whole bunch of them. Anyways, I don't know if there's any over in the UK. I'm sure there are, but they will handle, like, you ship the product to them, they store it, and as an order comes in, they package it, ship it to your customer.
Mm, interesting.
So, you're going to pay a little bit for the as far as fees go, but
Yeah.
it's something to look into. If one of your headaches about this whole thing is like, I don't want to have to, like, oh, an order came in, package it up, take it over to the post office, like, you can get rid of all of that by paying a fulfillment company.
Very interesting. I'll definitely look into it, because I have some products here that my missus tried to do fulfilled by Amazon. Uh, Everything went dead. We haven't moved forward with that project, and we have shitloads of boxes of products in here in the house that we
Yeah,
need to get rid of. So yeah, that thanks for that tip, Chris. That was a
sure.
good one. Excuse me. Um, we were talking about courses. Uh, have you taken? I know. I mean, I think you are in phase five figure niche site group.
Yes, yeah,
So
I took that. Yeah.
oh, you took that course. Did you took any other courses? And the reason I'm asking is I want to know what people kind of you follow and you learn from.
Yeah. So all of the courses that I took that got me on this path are unfortunately gone. Um,
Oh.
the probably the most pivotal course that ever happened to me was Spencer Hawes had just launched a tool. Maybe some of you guys have heard of it. It was called Longtail Pro, and he had just launched it, and I bought it, and he had an upsell for it. I think it was called Niche, or no, it was Longtail Classroom, and I think he eventually made Longtail University, but the original iteration was a thing called Longtail Classroom, and it was just a video course. It was like your basic niche site building course where it was kind of over the shoulder. He walked you through using Longtail Pro to build a site, and that was life changing for me. I took notes on it. I like literally woke up early on a Saturday, sat down, took notes, and then had Laura watch the videos with me, and the ones that we thought were most important. And it was a life changing course for me. Another course that was pivotal for me was let's see, it was John Dykstra. I think it was called Niche Tycoon, and that course is no longer available either.
Hmm.
And a lot of the stuff. So I take lots of courses, and these courses will end up, there a lot of redundant information. Like, I buy courses knowing that I'm probably going to know like 95% of the information, but
Agree.
I want that 5%, that stuff that I didn't know. And full credit to John Dykstra on this one. His course Niche Tycoon, I knew most of what he was talking about, but I found one module in it about this company called Azoic,
Okay.
and that was a huge turning point as well for our business. Um, just massive. And so those are two very important courses to me. I had a few Amazon affiliate sites, and so I've been doing Amazon affiliate, or Laura and I have, for probably 5 to 7 years, maybe even longer. And so I already knew about Amazon affiliate. I had the plugins and stuff, but I bought Doug's course because I wanted to scale it. Amazon affiliate has always been a very, very small part of a single percent part of our business.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to scale that up to be bigger until April 20th. So I took his course to kind of see if I get some ideas on how he would suggest doing it and whatnot, and kind of, and also to network. Like I'll join courses also to just kind of like hook up with the person who actually produced the course and get into their community and like meet people and network. So yeah, it's those are some really, really good courses, and those are probably the biggest ones that I've taken that were like, as far as like life changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. It's some people don't like paid trainings and all that, but like I always say, you don't necessarily pay for the training. What you pay is for the information, is the access to that person and that person's network. Just
Yeah.
like you were saying, you get into some communities that have some very, very smart people, successful people, and you can learn from those guys. You can make friends and all that, and I think that's what you're paying for, not only
Mm-hmm.
for the knowledge. Um, at the end
And
of the
I've never really understood the people that are like, I don't like paying for online course. It's like it's information just done a little bit differently. If you pay for books, you really shouldn't have a problem like paying for a course. It's,
Mhm.
yeah, you don't get to hold something in your hand, but it's the information, and
Exactly. It's an organized information, because you have the information. It's free out there. You can put it together in a couple of years if you go really in depth and try to organize how to build a website, for example, a profitable website and all that. You can make it for free, but just having to pay for a course and get access to smart people who already done it, well, that's gonna save you a few years of
well, yeah.
just
I
you
mean, the
know
average blog article has what, like a 100 or 200 word intro. How many, if you wanted all that information in 80 articles, how many redundant words that really don't say much of anything did you just
yeah.
read to get that information?
Do you know, I wanna, before we almost getting too close to an hour here, Chris, and before I go, I want to ask you about ask you a little bit more about the podcast. I'm interested to do some podcast as well, because I realized it's so much easier. Doing live streams like this. It's a lot of software that need to go with this. Plus, you need to make sure that a lot of stuff is going well, just like my internet connection. It didn't went well. um, but being in front of a mic, no cameras, no lights, no nothing, you can just read from a notepad, and I believe that's so awesome. And I want to know, how did you guys started this podcast? As you can see here, it should be on the screen now.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
see it.
and I want to know more about it. Like, why did you guys put this together? Well, what do you expect from it, and stuff like that?
So funny thing is, we were attending like a workshop program, and in the middle of it, so it was about like developing products and stuff. And in the middle of it, it totally threw us off. He was like, "You need to start publishing daily," and that's something we've tried before. But he's like, whether it's like Facebook Live, social media, podcasting, like publish daily to establish your platform. And I'm like, well, let's give this a shot. And I've tinkered around with podcasts in the past over the years, but I never really fully embraced it. And my wife actually seemed pretty interested in it. So I'm like, all right, let's give this a shot again. And we're on episode 73. We've been doing it, well, I guess 73 days, but it's just something that we do. So what we do is we get the kids to bed. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear a few times where either a kid totally comes in, barges in, or you'll hear like a baby in the background kind of doing cute little baby sounds. And but what we do is we try to get the kids to bed, and sometimes we'll have interruptions, but overall we get the kids down, and then I'll just take out my cell phone, and I use the Google. I'm on Android, so I use the Google Recorder app. And it's a fantastic recording app, and I just use the mic on my cell phone. I've got a Google Pixel 3, so it's just got a really nice microphone on it, and we use that. So I'll just we'll wait for the kids to like go to bed, and then I open up the phone. We, open up our Google Doc with all of the, episode ideas and some of our notes for the episode, and then we just start recording. And we'll usually, for a long time, we were only doing one episode. For anyone who has kids, try to get 2 or 3 episodes done a night if you can. Depending on how long it is. Our episodes are only like usually between 10 and 25 minutes long, so they're not super long. You got Joe Rogan with his like 3-hour interviews.
Yeah.
But no, we just try to do like kind of bite-sized podcasts, with the idea that maybe someone wants to listen to us on their commute into work, and maybe they want to hear a few podcasts on that drive, not just hear me blabbering on for an hour and a half.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, this is Laura here. If she's shy of camera, Laura, we know who you are now. So next time we hope to have you on, Laura, as well. What like what do you expect to do with this podcast? Do you want you want to make it something big in the future, maybe a kind of Pat Flynn style, and or it's just like for you to record your journey, your and Laura's journey?
We're trying to build like I'm not someone who really craves fame, which is why it's taken like 10 or 12 years for me to like actually get out there and start talking with people. I just want to build like an audience of people, like kind of a close community of people where we can just kind of help each other and, grow and succeed together. And so this podcast is one of my ways of like reaching people. Like one of the things I've said is like, this podcast is for, me and my wife 10 or 12 years ago. It was the person sitting in the cubicle that like feels stuck, and they're like, I don't know what to do, but I know I need to do something. And so we're trying to like help anyone in that situation, and just kind of firstly talking about like just being like completely honest. Like, we're not trying to sell like that laptop, margarita on the beach, view. It's a lot. We're trying to give like a more realistic view where people can know like what a real online business looks and feels like, and decide if they want to do that. And if they do, they can kind of follow along with some of the things that we're doing. And we document some of our little projects that we're working on. We like to give some behind the scenes and kind of talk about and just kind of get like a real, like, I talk about some of my awkward Facebook live streams that I've been doing, where it's just I'm trying to not flounder around on them and stuff, just having a good time. But it's really about documenting the journey and trying to share that with people, and maybe helping to inspire some people.
For sure. I mean, there's definitely some inspiration into these little videos, little stories that we share. I know that, many people say in Facebook, hey, Adrian, I saw your video, man, that was good, blah, blah, blah. So you inspired me to do this. And I'm sure that you receive a lot of messages as well. Kris, this was awesome. Thanks for opening my eyes to this. And that's why I actually want to share these videos. And I love to do these live streams. And I'm getting better at it, I hope. I was watching I was listening to one of your podcast episodes in here where it says how to stop being boring on live streams. So
I learned that from experience.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. It doesn't matter how much you read, learn, and all that. If you don't apply what you read and what you learn, it's useless. You can just put it straight in the bin. Brandon is saying here in the chat, we were talking about the courses earlier. Rep to bring the fresh by Kelly Felix and Mike Long back in the day. This is what got Brandon into niche sites and affiliate marketing.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. Maybe we should close this up, but I have 2 more questions for you, Kris, before we go, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So one of the question is, because I kind of suffer from this at the beginning of my online journey, or hustling journey, if you want. It's that mentality that, people know that you find a job, you go do the work, get the money, come back home, and that's it. That's what we usually do. But then as soon as you mention to your wife or family member that, hey, I have this idea that I want to create a business online, they kind of go with that uh, how do I say, they they ignore you, or they just don't believe you, or they kind of to bring you down or something. And I simply love that you guys, you Laura, you're doing this together. You know, you have, I'm sure you have loads of fun doing it. So I'm wondering, how do you get your your spouse or a family to be supportive of what you do?
So when we first started out, Laura wasn't really on board with the idea. Not, she wasn't like discouraging. It was more of like, oh, that's a cute idea, and it's like it's a way to keep me busy. So I think that it was firstly for anyone whose spouse might be hesitant or concerned about the idea, don't start off with, "Hey, I'm going to start an online business and then eventually quit my job." Like that's just not. Be more strategic. Just say, I want to do something more productive with my spare time, and I want to see if we can maybe get a second, stream of income coming in. Because this is what happened with us, right? So I was like, hey, I want to try this online business stuff, and she's like, okay, fine. And I was like writing articles and making like pennies, nickels, and dimes a day, and it looked pathetic for the amount of time I was investing. But ultimately, it was harmless because it wasn't costing us money. But then once it started turning into like dollars a day and like $10 a day and stuff, like, or I guess it was before it was like $10 a day, but when it was like a few bucks a day, she realized like, no, this is actually compounding. Like this idea is working. And then that's when she got on board with me. And everyone else thought it was kind of funny and cute and whatnot that we were considering like an online business. And but once it started to scale and grow and people saw like, oh, like houses are getting paid off, and like that, it's people can't help but change their mind, right? Like no one wants to be wrong, so they change their mind and they're like, oh, it was a good idea from the beginning. So I don't think that you'll be able to convince people with words, and quite honestly, if you try, you're just wasting your time. Convince them with your actions. Try your best to minimize, like, don't make inflammatory statements that are going to make people be like, you shouldn't do this. Like, don't, like, if they think your goal is to quit your job, then they're going to try and convince you not to do it. Just say, I have an idea, or don't even say that you've got an idea, just start doing it. Okay. But once they see the money coming in, they're going to join your team. And that's pretty much been our experience.
I, I see exactly what you mean, and and we have here in the chat our friend Stephen Buchanan here, and thanks for being here, Stephen. He says, "Don't tell him what you're doing." So to answer the question, like, how do you get them to support you? By not telling them what you're doing, and he says as well that my wife knows I do online stuff, but she doesn't have any real idea. Once I scale this to full time, then she will understand. And Marcus as well says same here. And the reason I'm asking is because many people, most of us, I believe, we have the same issue. We want to, because we have this entrepreneurial minds. We are ambitious and we want more from our lives. We want to do something for ourselves, and then for some reason something click in our minds and say, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah.
But as soon as you open your mind, just like you were saying, Kris, just shut the front door and don't say that you're gonna quit your job.
That's it. I mean, I think globally we all kind of get the same kind of message. It's like you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, and then you retire at 65, like, or whatever the retirement age is in your country. Like, we all get fed that. And so anything that, like, we grow up hearing this narrative for the first 20 years of our lives or 24 years of our lives, that this is how you're supposed to live. And then the moment someone starts rocking that boat and messing up that narrative, it's like everyone's alarm bells start going off and they're like, no, you can't do that because that's not the plan. It's like, no, I'm making my own plans now.
Yeah, it's
I like what Brandon says here. He says, then they want you to show them how to do it. Funny story about that. And I've had numerous people that want they want like training and stuff. And I've done some trainings for like friends and family, but Very, very few people actually like follow through on it. And I think a lot of people, what happens after, I don't take it personally. A lot of people, I think after they go through like any kind of like training, even semi-formal training with me, is they realize how hard the business is. And I try really hard not to be discouraging. I'm an encouraging person, but I also want to be realistic with people. I don't want to sell you a fake dream, because you know what, 5 years from now, when you're still making like 100 or 200 bucks a month, you're gonna be like, you told me this was easy. Like, I don't want to be that person. You know, it's
Exactly.
different. Like you said, Marty McLeod, he did it in like 4 or 5 years, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not someone who gets jealous of other people's success. If you can knock this out of the park in a year, and I don't care if you surpass me, if you're making, 15, 20 grand a year, or I'm sorry, a year, a month, doing this business, and you did it in a year, I'm not jealous of you. I'm happy for you, because I know how much work generally has to go into this business to make it succeed. And I
Sure.
want everyone to succeed, but I'm also not going to lie to you about how to do it, or
Exactly.
how easy
Exactly.
it is to do it, or how quickly you can do it.
Exactly. I mean, like we were saying at the beginning, it will depend on your skills. It will depend on your budget. It will depend on your situation. It will depend on so many things. But just like our friend here in the chat says, Steven says, gotta be patient though when trying to go full time. You have to have a lot of patience, because they're gonna be a lot of shit thrown at you from everywhere, from everywhere, friends,
Mm-hmm.
family, any everywhere. So you have to be patient, and like Steven says here, he's on a 4 to 5 year plan, to say hasta, where is it, hasta la vista, boss.
Yeah, that's awesome.
um so that was really, really awesome, Kris. I really love that. um
It's cool that he's talking about patience. That is
mm,
extremely important.
yeah,
You got to be patient. Don't sit there and like worry about where you're at. Just worry about where you're going, and keep grinding away at it,
exactly,
and make the work happen.
exactly.
Notice
Sure
what
thing.
works and scale that. See what doesn't work and throw it away. Don't get hooked on or attached to projects that are wasting your time and money.
Sure thing. I have this in my mind, like if I have to, if I it's not like if I have to, I would love to have a course, like, or some kind of uh coaching services, maybe in a year or so. um that would be the first thing I'm gonna mention to people. Listen, if you want to make this thing, if you want to make replace your job like next year, don't even bother to don't even bother to look at my website, because it's not gonna
That's
be
it.
like that, right? It's gonna take a few years. What I'm gonna teach you to do is to build a business, not to create a website. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I want you to build your a brand, a business that's gonna bring you shitloads of money for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I see it. It's like you were saying earlier. You you since the beginning, you were into this like for the long play, not just to see if this works and then go back to your job.
I'll say, like, you look at Amazon, you look at Apple, you look at Microsoft, look at where they started. It's like mostly in garages. Look at their websites a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
in archive.org or whatever. Like, these companies are the biggest companies on our planet, but they started out in garages. It was people grinding away, and they didn't get as big as they are overnight. And that's pretty much the rule for everyone. Yeah, you're going to have a few people that, like, are able to hustle and get it done in a year, but just be patient and know the end goal and work towards it. That's all you can do.
Sure thing. Talking about the next years, um, the next few years, I think this is going to be my last questions. If you guys, by the way, if anybody in the chat here has any question for Kris, you can just write it on the comments, or if you want, you can join us here live and make the question live. Um, and my last question, Kris, for you today is, where do you guys see yourselves in the next 5 years?
Okay. uh Continuing to do the podcast, that's kind of going to be our home base. I would like to do more live streaming, or maybe like going across various video channels, or possibly doing, I don't know if I want to go the route that Joe Rogan went with, as far as like having the podcast live streamed while you're recording and everything, but maybe that route. um but definitely building out the podcast. In addition, we're building out training courses and just kind of informational things, informational and digital products to help people grow their business. But more specific aspects. It's not going to be like the general, this is how you build a niche site. It's going to be more specific things about like online business, and just kind of go into my specific experiences. Like, what happens after you quit your job? Like, what are the steps that I took? And there was so much that I ended up doing, forming an LLC and just all these other things that like you don't really think about. I still need to get a CPA. Right now I still do all my taxes and bookkeeping. It's like, that's a job I need to get off me. But I'm going to document a lot of that stuff, and but it's basically growing kind of the informational aspect of our business, the digital product aspect of our business. And then I'm going to continue maintaining the display ad aspect of our business, but I'm probably not going to continue scaling it the way that I was scaling it. I'm going to increase my affiliate revenue streams. Originally, I was going to do that through Amazon, but I'm not anymore now that they did their cuts and they've shown that I don't feel like they're going to be a good partner for me in the long run. So I'm putting that aside. And then I've got other, I like software affiliates. Software affiliates are great because you can get recurring affiliate revenue.
Yeah.
So that's one avenue that I'm going to go down further. But basically just growing our income streams and trying to show people how we do it as we go.
That's awesome. I'm just going to give a couple of seconds. See, maybe Brandon, do you want to say something, buddy?
No, I appreciate the time, Kris. What a good information.
Happy to be here for you guys.
Awesome stuff. I'm just going to give another few more seconds, see if we have anything in the chat. But if not, Kris, thanks a lot, buddy, for jumping on with us today and share your story. And I hope many people is gonna share, not share, but find inspiration in what you do, and listening to your podcast and all that. And hopefully, when they come to Hasta la Vista Boss show or on the Facebook group, they will say, "Hey, I've listened or I watched a YouTube video with Adrian and Kris, and that inspired me to start my business or something." Oh,
that'd be awesome, guys. Like, I think a lot of people get like weird about like that would make me so happy. Like, I'm not so busy that I wouldn't love to hear someone like let me know, like, hey, I made my first dollar online because of something you said, or I was able to go and spend time with my family because of that tip you gave in that video. So like, please do, like, let me know. Add me as a friend on Facebook or whatever. And just like, once you start getting those successes, like, let me know. I'm not like trying to do this for testimonials or anything. Like, it just, I love helping people. And that would make me so happy knowing that something I've shared has helped somebody. That's just, it's the coolest thing.
That's the dream. That's the dream. Thanks again, Kris. Thanks everybody for being here. Steven, Marcus, Laura, Brandon, Bob, and 1189423. Sounds like a phone number. Thanks everybody, and remember, stay focused, because we're going to get rid of that boss.
Y'all take care.
Bye.